In legendary accounts, Uzbek was converted by a Sufi named Baba Turkles, who proved the veracity of his religion by passing unscathed through an oven, wearing nothing but chainmail, while the shaman he challenged was burnt to death. However, Baba Turkles does not.
Alright, why and how the Mongols became Muslim. This video was another suggestion, of course. For all the people who are wondering, I've actually done most of my suggestions. I still have quite a bit. But I will be restarting all the series that I more or less paused starting on tomorrow, actually. Because the suggestions that I did, I don't really have much suggestions. Plus, I don't really have much people suggesting me new things, right? So, yeah. So, woohoo.
Mongols were known for unleashing a series of unrelenting horrors upon the Islamic world, from the catastrophic destruction of the Khwarezmian Empire to the sack of Baghdad. No shortage of Islamic authors over the 13th century called the Mongols a punishment sent by God for their sins. Yet, many of the Mongols in the west of the empire before the end of the 13th century converted to Islam, and in time some of the heirs of Chinggis Khan held the Sharia over the Yasa. In today's episode of our series on the Mongols, we explore why so many Mongols chose to convert to Islam.
The Mongols, that animation right there, that was hard. That
might have been religiously tolerant when it suited them. But you shouldn't tolerate people who try to steal your data or limit your online content.
I barely use stuff online anyways. What the hell? I barely use stuff online,
by going to NordVPN.com/generals. The Mongolians' interaction with Islam began in the 12th century, as Islamic merchants brought valued goods, such as textiles or metal tools, in exchange for furs and animals. At least two Muslims, Hassan and Jafar Kodja, were among Chinggis Khan's close allies during his escape to Lake Baljuna, where they swore loyalty to him.
Oh wow,
As Chinggis Khan expanded the Mongol Empire, initially Muslims found little reason to lament it. Muslim merchants continued to serve in prominent roles, acting as emissaries and spies on behalf of the Khan, who rewarded them and encouraged them to make the difficult journey to Mongolia. When Chinggis Khan's great general, Jebe Noyan, entered the Tarim Basin in 1218, pursuing their fleeing foe, Kuchlug, he proclaimed that all those who willingly submitted were free to worship as they chose. The region swiftly threw out Kuchlug's garrisons and accepted Mongol rule, not as conquerors but liberators. The next stage of Mongol expansion was not so well received. The highly destructive conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire resulted in the deaths of millions across what is now Uzbekistan through eastern Iran and Afghanistan.
Go check my reaction on that. I don't think nobody could do a better video than History Doses Mongol invasions. That was crazy.
Though most of Iran submitted peacefully to the Mongol Noyan Chormukhan over the 1230s, with the arrival of Hulagu in the 1250s, a new wave of massacres was unleashed, culminating in the sack of Baghdad in 1258 and the death of the Abbasid Caliph, an immense blow to the psyche of the Ummah. At the end of the 1250s, it seemed that soon the whole Muslim world would become the subject of the Great Khan. The initial period after the Mongol conquest was for many Muslims not easier. Claims of Mongol religious toleration have been greatly over-exaggerated and colored by our modern perception of the term. While it is true that the Mongols generally did not persecute on the basis of religion, the Mongols did persecute specific beliefs they saw as contrary to steppe custom and the laws of Chinggis Khan, the Great Yasa. These infractions, such as halal slaughter or washing of dirty things in running water, resulted in Mongol oppression. Both Chinggis Khan's son Chagatai in the 1230s and Kublai Khan in the 1280s forbade halal slaughter on pain of death.
We need the Mongols. It's funny how nobody cares what the Mongols did. I think about that like all the time. I'm like, everybody likes to complain about this country at its peak, that country at its peak. I'd be like, "Meh, oh, this country committed this war crime, that country committed that war crime, this country committed blah 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 blah. You need to pay up. You need to acknowledge your past." You know, I just find that funny because, like, nobody really does that for Mongolia at all, right? And you think that, oh, because Mongolia isn't relevant. Well, that still doesn't really matter, right? Got me talking my American accent. It doesn't really matter because at the end, if you truly are a moral person, right? If you are really, right, you're truly a moral person, you would still call out any and every unmoral acts or whatever the heck, anything that's just unmoral, right? But nobody really does that for Mongolia at all. I don't really care. I'm just pointing it out. Hilariously enough. It just goes to show you how people just love to cherry pick and how people just like to use history, as a means to create a political narrative, and it pisses me off a lot. Really and truly. Let's continue.
A Khwarezmian refugee to the Delhi Sultanate, writing around 1260, Juzjani, wrote of his sincere belief that Chagatai and other members of the Mongol leadership intended a genocide of the Muslims. Why did Islam succeed in converting the Mongols of Western Asia after such a low point? It was a matter of proximity. The majority of the population...
That's what I figured as well. Before coming into this video, I just simply thought, okay, because the Muslims were simply closer to the, Muslim religion places, of course, so that makes sense.
The major centers in the Golden Horde, Ilkhanate and Chagatai Khanate were Muslims, ensuring that not only could Sufis and others proselytize to the Mongol leadership, but also their military. Efforts by Buddhists or various Christian representatives, be they Catholic, Syriac or Nestorian, lacked comparable resources, and their efforts were generally restricted to attempting to convert the highest-ranking Mongols. While this brought them some influence, in contrast to the image in most historical narrative sources, monarchs tended to convert once enough of their followers had done so for it to be a sound decision for their legitimacy. More Mongols simply had closer proximity to Muslim populations than they ever did Christian or Buddhist, leading to a more thorough conversion than any Franciscan friar could ever accomplish. Similar proximity prompted the slow Sinicization of the Mongols in Yuan, China. The Mongols also found Muslims very useful. Islamic craftsmen, administrators and healers were quickly spread across the Mongol Empire, accompanying every Khan and Noyan on campaigns and in their camps. In short order, they commanded armies, often of their own locally raised forces, to fight for the Khans. The various Islamic peoples of Central Asia, be they Turkic or Iranic, provided a plethora of skills and manpower the Mongols.
Yo, speaking of Turkic people, if there's one thing that I gotta give credit where credit is due, is my Turkic viewers. I have a completely different view on Turkey history. I can't even lie. I cannot lie. I've been reacting to a whole bunch of Turkey videos, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Before I really did not care about Turkey history or anything like that, man. But no, I do think Turkey history is very criminally underrated. I think more people need to show some love to Turkey history. Turkey history is honestly up there, it's honestly up there. I think Turkey history might be even better than some histories like Greek history or low key maybe even Italian history. I think Greek history, Italian history is very overrated. Overrated does not mean bad. Okay, overrated does not mean bad. But a lot of people just I just think that there's better, more interesting types of histories out there. Let's continue.
Lacked. By the reign of Ogedai, Muslims were many of the highest-ranking members of the bureaucracy. Mahmud Yelovach, his son Masud Beg, and Abd al-Rahman served as heads of the branch secretariats the Mongols established to govern Central Asia and China. These men were answerable only to the Great Khan.
It's hard to put into words.
The presence of many Islamic jurists in Chinggisid courts is well attested, and a merchant with fiscal ability could be richly rewarded in lucrative ortog arrangements with the Mongol princes. The Mongols' search for skills they saw as useful particularly rewarded Muslims with aptitude in alchemy and astrology. The Khans of the Ilkhanate spent considerable sums on alchemists who claimed to be able to produce gold or prolong life, much to the chagrin of the Ilkhanate's viziers. Astrologists who could determine the future also received great rewards, for the Mongols put great stock in this. The duties of Mongol shamans fell to influencing events within the current life rather than with the next level of existence. Thus, for the Mongols, it was useful to accumulate holy men to interact with the supernatural beyond what their own shamans could. It also explains why, once they did convert, the Mongols continued to commune with shamans, which makes it difficult for many to accept their conversions as sincere. As historians like Devin DeWeese or Peter Jackson have argued, though, we cannot gauge the authenticity of any Mongol conversion from our vantage point centuries later, as the nature of our sources leaves us unable to determine the conviction of each convert. The Mongols actively selected aspects of sedentary societies which benefited themselves, and therefore could choose to profess Islam while continually observing shamanic practices and standard cultural actions. The conversions of the Mongols and their servants began in the 1240s. One of the first prominent figures to convert was not a Mongol, but a Uyghur named Korguz, Ogedai's appointment to the head of the Secretariat of Western Asia. One of the most powerful officials in the empire, Korguz's conversion from Buddhism to Islam at the start of the 1240s marked the highest profile convert yet in the Mongol government. According to Giovanni, Batu, while preparing for the confrontation with the Hungarians at Mohi in 1241,
Mongols fighting Hungarians, the Mongols fighting other Mongols. Basically, well, Hungarians are like the cousins of Mongols, right? Hungarians are basically Mongols too, right? Just more they're like further off, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they're basically Mongols, yeah. Magyars are Mongolic people, or at least cousins to Mongols, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure, right?
ascended a hill to pray to eternal blue heaven, and asked the Muslims in his army to pray for victory as well. It is unclear if they were Muslim troops raised from Central Asia and the steppe, or Mongol converts. One of the main units in Mongol expansion and consolidation was the Tama, a garrison force permanently stationed in a region made up of nomadic and sedentary troops. The Mongols in a Tama were forbidden to bring their families with them. Separated from their homeland, families and shamans, and taking new wives, who were generally Muslims, these Mongols were thus removed from the infrastructure that encouraged the maintenance of their traditional religion and made them more susceptible to conversion. This can be best observed in the case of Tamchi Baiju, stationed in the Caucasus and Anatolia from the early 1240s until the 1260s.
Bro, if there's one thing about Central Asians that I just love, is their eyes, dude. Like, freaking, I feel like Central Asian people have like the best eyes in the world. You can quote me on that. I don't know why. It just looks so good. I don't know. To me, it just looks so good. Like, every time I see like a drawing of a Central Asian person, or literally, I'm just like, those eyes, man. It's like God just put all their stats on their eyes, man. Freaking out. I don't know. kind of a bit off topic, but I don't know if anyone else feels the same way or not.
20 years, he appears in a variety of historical accounts which demonstrate not only the presence of many Muslims in his camp, as advisors, administrators and Sufis, but also the gradual conversion of his men. By the end of his life, Baiju became a Muslim and asked to be washed and buried in Muslim fashion on his death.
Oh wow!
Perhaps the most famous convert was Berka Khan, known for his war against his cousin Hulagu over the Caucasus. Conflicting accounts are given for his conversion. Either he was raised a Muslim or converted in the 1240s through the efforts of the Sufi Sheikh Saif al-Din Bakazi. Certainly by the 1250s, Berka was a Muslim, as multiple independent sources attest to his adherence, though Mamluk embassies indicate that Berka continued to dress and wear his hair in the distinctive Mongolian style rather than don Islamic clothing. While Berka's war with Hulagu is often portrayed as his anger over the death of the Caliph, it seems this was a secondary concern to him. His own letters to Sultan Baybars blamed the conflict on Hulagu's infringement of the Yasa by failing to send Berka loot from Baghdad and Iraq or consult with him. The fact that war began 3 years after Baghdad's fall, and that Hulagu occupied Jochid territory in northern Iran and the Caucasus after Monkur's death, suggests that Berka's immediate concerns were more strategic than spiritual. Islam, for the early converts like Berka, was not a change of identity, but an acceptance alongside their existing beliefs, and incorporated into a Chinggisid worldview. Almost certainly, Berka, like his Islamic successors, continued to consult with shamans and the Yasa, yet never felt disloyal to the Sharia. While Berka's conversion was accompanied by some of his brothers and commanders, there was no immediate Islamization of the emerging Golden Horde. Only at the start of the 1280s did both westernmost Khanates of the Mongol Empire have Muslim rulers, Turda in the Golden Horde and Teguda in the Ilkhanate. Once more, the sources hint that sheikhs and Sufis were behind the conversion of both men, and continued to be held in great esteem in their courts. For the Ilkhan Teguda, who upon his enthronement went by the name of Sultan Ahmad, we have a variety of sources that describe his commitment to Islam, which vary widely and demonstrate why many doubt the authenticity of the early conversions. Letter Teguda sent to the Mamluk Sultan Kalawan, Teguda spoke of establishing Sharia law in the Ilkhanate, and that their shared religion made it easier for the Mamluks to submit to him. Sicilian Armenian writers like Hetem of Coricus and Stepanos Obelian generally portray Teguda as a persecutor of Christians. Yet at the same time, the Syriac churchman Bar Hebraeus wrote of Teguda as a friend to Christians, an upholder of religious toleration who exempted them from taxation and allowed Hebraeus to build a new church, while the Mamluks were largely skeptical of his conversion.
You know, it's very funny to me how all these conquerors, cause I see a lot of these people who don't know history, they this is kind of low-key a personal thing that annoys the living hell out of me, honestly speaking. They, like, for example, right, my ancestors, some of my ancestors anyways, because I'm mixed, came from West Africa, some of them, and they were anglicized, right? And, you know, they weren't even, like, conquered by Europeans or anything. If anything, they were actually conquered by other African kingdoms, and they were turned into slaves, and then when the Europeans came, they were sold off to the Europeans. But, you know, when they assimilated and they became anglicized, you know, became English, people just think that, oh, if you have an overlord or someone conquer you or something like that, or something synonymous or similar, if you don't know those fancy words, that is impossible for you to adopt their culture or anything like that. when we have so many overlords and conquerors and all these empires who, in a kind of ironic fashion, adopt cultures from people that they subjugated, right? That they conquered, right? Or vassalized or something like that. I'm thinking about it now, actually. That kind of did happen to Britain, now that I think about it, because in a different Anglophone island, Jamaica, the more popular one that everybody usually knows about, Jamaica, at least in southern England, I've heard they've adopted a lot of Jamaican slang and Jamaican like sort of like customs. Like I've heard that Jamaicans have had a big particular big influence in the current culture in southern England in the UK right now, hilariously enough. And arguably speaking, Jamaica has had a much more rough time with the UK, quite frankly speaking, than Barbados did brilliantly, but yet that still managed to happen. I'm just saying this because it just really just annoys me just seeing so many people just do not know how, like, you know, that can happen actually, really and truly. Okay, let's continue. I just wanted to say that. Get off with just.
Taking the throne in 1295, the Ilkhan Ghazan portrayed himself as the first true Muslim Ilkhan. For this reason, the Islam of his two predecessors, Tegida and Baidu, was denigrated in official accounts from his reign, predominantly the great work of his vizier Rashid al-Din. Ghazan only came to Islam a few weeks before his enthronement, urged to convert by his commander Noruz Noyan and the Sheikh Sadr al-Din al-Hamiwayi during his rebellion against Ilkhan Baidu. While his biographer Rashid al-Din portrays Ghazan's conversion as causing his commanders and soldiers to follow suit, it seems almost certain that it was in fact the opposite, and that by converting, Ghazan hoped to gain the wavering support of Baidu's Muslim followers, which quickly happened. Upon becoming Ilkhan, on the instigation of his zealous general Noruz, Ghazan ordered the destruction of Christian, Jewish, Buddhist and Zoroastrian centers in Muslim cities in his empire, and imposed the jizya. However, these harsh measures were
I don't hear my Muslim audience talking about this.
Quickly rescinded with Noruz's downfall in 1297, though Buddhists did not return to the prominence they had previously enjoyed.
Whoa! What's going on here? I don't hear my Muslim audience talking about this.
Ghazan, before the end of the 1290s, donned a turban and even declared jihad against the Mamluks. Yet his efforts did not convince everyone. Outside of Damascus in 1300, the great Mamluk jurist Ibn Taymiyyah accused both Ghazan and his vizier, the Jewish convert to Islam Rashid al-Din, of being false Muslims, and that Ghazan continued to worship Chinggis Khan in place of Sharia. The life of Ghazan's brother and successor, Uljitu, is the most extreme example of a Mongol prince's flexible approach to religion. His father Arghun had the young Uljitu baptized a Nestorian Christian and given the name of Nicholas. As a teen, he converted to Buddhism, taking the name of Uljitu. Under the influence of a wife, he converted to Sunni Islam and became Muhammad Kudabanda.
I gotta look more into the Sunni Islam, Sunni Shia divide. I gotta watch more videos on that. I can't even lie. That split is so. I watched it a while ago, but I gotta like refresh my brain on the whole Sunni Shia divide. That is. It's funny because I see so many Islamic people in my comments. You know, they like to sell me this idea of Islam is like the religion and whatnot. But then you look at the whole Sunni Shia split and how much conflict that has caused, and you think to yourself, what? Right? Like, from an outsider perspective, of course, that's just what it's going to look like, really and truly.
Attached to the Sunni school of Hanafism, then to Shafi'ism, frustration with fighting between them drove him back to Buddhism before in 1309 choosing Shia Islam. A number of sources offer explanations for what drove Olcaytu to become a Shia, generally focusing on how advisors, scholars and emirs in his court convinced him of its merits. In some accounts, Olcaytu converted back to Sunni Islam shortly before his death in 1316. Following Ghazan's reign, the Ilkhanate is considered an Islamic state, with the majority of its army and upper echelons Muslim. The process was slower in the Golden Horde and Chagatai Khanate. In the Golden Horde, it took until the reign of Özbek Khan, who seems to have converted shortly after his accession, to gain the support of influential Noyans within the Horde.
Holy, yo, imagine if the Golden Horde had converted to Islam. Oh my gosh, what impact would that have on the Rus states? Because the Rus states were freaking vassals to the Golden Horde. Oh my gosh. Imagine that alternate time. Oh, Islamic Russia. We got Islamic Russia today. Oh my gosh, just think about that for a second.
In legendary accounts, Özbek was converted by a Sufi named Baba Turkles, who proved the veracity of his religion by passing unscathed through an oven, wearing nothing but chainmail, while the shaman he challenged was burnt to death. However, Baba Turkles does not
Yeah, no, bro, I almost said the N-word there. I almost said the N-word there, bro. That
appear in sources until centuries after Özbek's death, though likely he was influenced by Sufis and jurists in his entourage. To cement his reign and religion, Özbek ordered the executions of over 100 Chinggisid princes and Noyans, larger than purges carried out by other prominent converts, such as Ghazan in the Ilkhanate and Tughlaq Timur in the eastern Chagatai Khanate. Özbek's violent efforts succeeded in permanently making the Jochids Muslims. Still, in policy, Özbek, Ghazan and Olcaytu largely matched their forebears in providing taxation exemptions, favors and other privileges to Christians, especially Franciscan missionaries, though on a lesser scale than earlier in the 13th century. Their successors, Özbek's son Janibeg and Olcaytu's son Abu Sa'id, proved less welcoming, as even Christians found their privileges revoked. Janibeg ordered his men to dress in the fashion of Muslims, while Abu Sa'id sought to become the protector of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, one year even sending an elephant there for inexplicable reasons. Still, these monarchs...
I was gonna say something, but I freaking yawned. Elephants. Oh my god, people just love sending elephants as gifts, huh?
Showed themselves to continue in their traditions, such as acts of levirate marriage, marrying their father's wives, something forbidden by their new religion. Islam proved an aspect of these monarchs' identities, but it took many generations in Iran for all elements of Mongol culture and Chinggisid ideology to be driven out, and in the steppes, the process, it can be argued, never fully replaced the memory of the house of Chinggis Khan. More videos on Mongol history are on the way, so make sure you are...
Well, video was a bit late, honestly, because I was honestly chilling out. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I was chilling out. I can't even lie to you, bro. Yeah, that's why the video was a bit late. Usually I'm like up on it, but yeah, I was just chilling out, just being by myself, having a good time. Hey, look. Make sure you subscribe, okay? Make sure you subscribe. If you're new to my channel, definitely go check out my other Muslim reactions or whatnot, or my other reactions on my channel. Make sure you also like. If you have any suggestions for me, man, go comment down below. I am very low on suggestions. Shockingly, no, because usually I have a ton of suggestions. to do. But I'm low on suggestions, man. All right. Thank you for watching, man, and goodbye.